The first time we get to know that it's Babri Masjid only in the 20th century. Before that, the masjid was always known as Masjid al-Janamasthan. And the term Babri is very recent implant. Now, coming to the timeline of it, the temple was demolished in an era of around 1660s.
This is Aurangzeb's time.
Yes, the temple was destroyed in the era of Aurangzeb, and there is zero evidence to make a point that Babur ever demolished it.
नमस्कार, वेलकम टू अनदर कॉन्वर्सेशन। आज भी मेरे साथ मेरे दोस्त आभास, जिनकी पहली पुस्तक आफ्टर ऑफ कोर्स द कम्युनिस्ट मैनिफेस्टो वाज ऑन बाबर, अ ह्यूज एंड अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सब्जेक्ट। मुझे याद है कि हमने नोएडा ऑफिस में बैठ के इसके बारे में एक लंबा कॉन्वर्सेशन किया था। एंड तब भी जब बाबर या मुगल हिस्ट्री की किताब आती है तो देयर आर ओनली 2-3 पीपल दैट यू कैन थिंक ऑफ हिस्टोरिकली। सो आप जादूना सरकार की बात करते हैं, एक बार ना माइंड उस तरफ चला जाता है कि इट्स अ वेरी बिग एंडेवर दैट यू अंडरटेकन, एंड मच लाइक आई कांट, one of the reasons why a lot of us in the ecosystem respect late Dr. Bibek Debrowji is because he had taken this, undertaken this huge task of translating our important documents and doing English translations, which are perhaps, which in many ways from an Indic POV or Indian lens. That I think in some ways is a venture that you've undertaken as well, क्योंकि मुगल हिस्ट्री को आफ्टर दैट ईरा आई थिंक सिर्फ 3-4 लोगों ने ही अच्छे से इंडियंस में या 3-4 लोगों ने ही डॉक्यूमेंट किया है, एंड यू टेकन इट अपॉन योरसेल्फ, सो कंग्रेचुलेशंस। Let's get started with what is happening in the second part. We know that in the first part, बाबर came, बाबर्स fascination and fantasies, समरकंद के का जो obsession है उसका, and from there you see that Babur is setting up a base in India, and you see expansion also happening. Does until his death, does he have this longing of going back, or has he moved on, getting a sense of the accomplishments, or perhaps the dream of making an empire in India?
Thank you so much, Arjun, for having me again. And I'm glad that we are discussing the part 2 of Babur, which happens to be together they are the first book in the whole long series of the Mughals, whom I now call Timurids. And as you rightly pointed out, or rather you posed a question, you have not pointed out, you have asked me that whether Babur was having this quest to return back. So the book is titled Quest for Hindustan. But as we go towards the end, we get to know that he had the quest to return back. He surely had it. And Babur was someone who was not driven by materialistic pursuit. Like I'll just give you one example. When after the fall of the Lodhis, that is the Battle of Panipat, when Kohinoor comes to Humayun, as in Humayun gets it from Raja Vikramaditya of Gwalior, and he brings it in front of Babur. And Babur is very dispassionate. He says that that's fine because for him, the conquering of the Delhi, which was like a Dil or one of the most important territory or the region of Hindustan, was way bigger than the material or the wealth or the Kohinoor which was placed in front of him. So Babur really cared for the regions. Babur cared for the territories, and that also was for the reason that he never had a territory for himself. He was someone who was always in this quest that he has to establish an empire. He was like a chessboard king, just hovering from one place to other and never coming to one concretized foundation. But when he saw that Delhi has happened, so now it's the time that he can establish his empire. But as the journey goes through, he tends to return back. Even when he's in a quest for Hindustan, he has this memories of Samarkand. So when he talks about Hindustan, he makes a comparison too. When he's making the comparison of the fruits, when he's making comparison of the people, he is talking about the people and the fruits. He's making comparison with Samarkand. And not only Babur, his successors would also continue this quest to return back because they never saw Hindustan as home. And it was on one podcast where Sanjeev Sanyal had said I believe it was with Smita Prakash, where he pointed it out that the roads were blocked for the Mughals, so that's why they could not go back. And he said it metaphorically. By roads were blocked, he meant to say that there was no such situation where they could return back. And he was told badly that roads were blocked, and how can you say this? Because there is a one school of thought which always says that they became one of us. But I have established this well in the introduction of my book as well, that they always wanted to return back, and Bharat, rather Hindustan as they called it, never deemed like a home to them, and they always had this homesickness, and it continued even till Aurangzeb. Like you can think that okay, Babur is first, so he may have it, but it continues. It happens with Humayun, it happens with Akbar, it happens with Jahangir, it happens with Shah Jahan. All of them are looking to do a campaign to return back, and it was but natural that when Aurangzeb is continuing it, so definitely Babur, who is the recent entrant into the Hindustan, he will have this the quest too.
But there's easily 120, 150 years um, journey from Babur to Aurangzeb.
Yes.
But Aurangzeb ke baad, because this is a question and it may not be part of the book, but it helped me understand this because after Aurangzeb died, for over 80, 90 years, the Delhi Takht was firmly, in fact, for 150 years, it was the Mughal emperor was on the Delhi Takht, and the ones who were dominating the court that kept on shifting. My question then is from death of Aurangzeb के 1857 में when Bahadur Shah Zafar it made an attempt to come back to, he was for a brief period of time put back to throne. क्या तब obsession ये खत्म हो गया था या तब दिल्ली वाले बन रहे थे
वो दिल्ली वाले बने नहीं थे, and it's always said that beggars are not the choosers, and that way rightly said, because after the Aurangzeb, the empire had almost collapsed. And if one asked me that effectively what was the golden period of the empire, it was in the era of Akbar, and part of it was in Akbar and part of it was in Aurangzeb. But with the golden period also came the doom period, because it's Aurangzeb only who scripted the downfall. And because they have already seen a massive downfall, Marathas have risen as a massive power. They're a massive power, and in fact, the British took Delhi not from the Mughals, but it was from the Marathas before that Battle of Delhi had happened, and they had become a very powerful force, and they had no choice, the Timurids. So we don't even hear about it because there is no much chronicling that whether they are having this quest or not. But detailed chronicles exist till Aurangzeb, and we see that they have this quest to return back. They want to get back to the Samarkand, and they in fact have been transmuting the wealth also from here for their subjects. They call the people in Samarkand still their subjects. And isn't it very interesting that even when the empire was established, they did not call it Empire of Hindustan, but it was Timurid Gurkhania, which had the semblance with where they are coming from.
So even when they were when Babur was established in Delhi, he was looting the subjects, he was taxing the subjects, and portion of that those monies were going back to Samarkand.
Yes, Samarkand, Kabul.
Can we give a rough figure कि कितना जा रहा था, a percentage of it perhaps?
In terms of percentage, it will be very tough to draw it, but in terms of numbers, I can surely tell you that because Babur has given the complete account of the total taxes, what he was drawing through, and we get to know that it is around 80 CR Shahrukis, which he's making as an annual revenue, and which is a big number back then. And out of which we see an instance where around 2 to 3 crore is going to Samarkand. Around say 4 CR is going to Kabul.
But where is it going? As another part of
To the
larger
subjects.
Timurid-
To the subjects.
To the subjects.
Yes.
But they had no subjects. They were actually pushed out of there, no?
So
an extended part of their extended family was perhaps serving or ruling, and they did
Yeah.
not want them to be back. They
Yes.
did not want Babur to come back.
Yes, that's very true. But they always see. There's one way to look at it is that you have a notion. You live life of delusion. You believe that something exists, even though technically they were not the subjects of the Timurids, because or the Timurids from the Babur side, because the other Timurids were ruling. Um, but still, Babur always felt that they are my own, and so did the Humayun, so did Akbar. Though they never were in control of the territories, but they still wanted to shower it, so that to make that feel that, oh yes, you are ours. And that's where this whole argument gets defeated by the left liberals, which left liberals make, that they became one of us. Because if they became one of us, while our GDP per capita growth was negative in Hindustan, they were continually sending the money outside. They call them subjects. They are very clear about it. And they, in fact, saw Uzbeks also as subjects. Not only.
So the idea was similar to what Genghis Khan was trying to do. Perhaps capture a large part of the world.
Yes.
At the end of it, wherever you may be, you're sending money back to where your heart belongs. So the Mughals, what you're arguing, or rather the Timurids, never essentially became part of India, at least until Aurangzeb. Is that what you're saying?
Till Aurangzeb also, they never became part of India, because ideologically their heart always bled for Samarkand. And we can see this differences very clearly, because if they are really seeing Hindustan as their land, why are they sending money in the terms of, say, 6 lakh is going to Makkah, then next year 5 lakh is going to Makkah, and whole Arab world will come there, because they have heard the news that a lot of wealth is coming from Hindustan. They need to get it. And so
Was there much of when I know क्योंकि औरंगजेब के समय पे ऐसा बहुत होना स्टार्ट हो गया था, and there's also a lot of documentation about it. क्या बाबर के समय में because apart from Baburnama, are there any other documentations which reflect onto what was happening in those years?
yes, there's a work of Duglat which talks about the era where Babur is living in. That is also a contemporary source which I have used a bit.
Okay. So क्या उस समय, even though Babur had formally established itself himself or was in the process of establishing, क्या लोकल पावर्स उस वक्त भी इस तरह से इमर्ज हो रही थी जो रिबेलियन के लिए खड़े होते थे या रिवोल्ट करते थे उनके खिलाफ?
Yes.
Because mainstream textbooks only often highlight about just a few specific powers who perhaps were eventually became powerful enough to be written about in books. What I want to understand is क्योंकि उस समय तक देश के अंदर for the सिर्फ एक पहला फेज आया था जब दिल्ली सल्तनत के राजा राज कर रहे थे, be it लोदीज और be it anybody else. But किसी भी फेज के अंदर, because this is how टीचर्स और हिस्ट्री टेक्स्ट बुक्स हैव टॉट अस, किसी भी फेज के अंदर आप ये नहीं सुन पाते कि हिंदुस्तान के या भारत के कुछ एंड उस तरफ से ऑर्गेनाइजेशन भी हमारा ऐसे किंगडम लाइक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फॉर द लॉन्गेस्ट टाइम नहीं हो रहा था, बिकॉज देयर वर लॉट ऑफ ऑनस्लॉट्स, देयर वाज लॉट ऑफ अटैक्स हैपनिंग फ्रॉम द वेस्ट. तो क्या, एंड जनरली भी ऐसा होता है कि अगर इतने बड़े अटैक्स हो रहे हैं तो कोई बड़ी पावर्स बनना बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है, बिकॉज पावर बनने के लिए आपको पीस स्टेबिलिटी देनी होती है. तो पीस स्टेबिलिटी आपको इस नॉर्थ और वेस्ट रीजन के अंदर नहीं मिल पा रही है. तो नेचुरल है कि इफ देयर इज एन इन्वेडर, देयर इज सम सॉर्ट ऑफ अ रिपल्शन, देयर इज अ रिबेलियन, देयर इज अ रेवोल्यूशन ब्रूइंग, बट इट्स नॉट बीन रिटन अबाउट मच. आई वांट टू आस्क यू, ऐसा था या था ही नहीं ऐसा?
That's very true, because we were fragmented for sure. Many people will feel that this is not true. We were very united all the time, but that's not the reality. In fact, बाबर ने खुद बाबरनामा में बताया है कि भारत के लोग या हिंदुस्तान के लोग गजनी और गोरी से इतने बार इन्वेड इसलिए होते थे क्योंकि यहाँ पे यूनिटी नहीं थी. ये बात बहुत कैटेगरिकली बाबर ही इज अ इन्वेडर, उसको यहाँ के राजनीति से कुछ लेना देना है नहीं, लेकिन वो 16वीं सदी में भी इस बात को बता रहा है. इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि उसके ऑब्जर्वेशन के हिसाब से, पॉलिटिकल ऑब्जर्वेशन के हिसाब से, भारत एक पॉलिटिकल सूत्र में बंधा हुआ नहीं था, फ्रैगमेंटेशंस थे. और ये बाबर के समय में ही ऐसा होता है कि राणा संग्राम सिंह कुछ टेरिटरीज को, कुछ रीजन्स को एक सूत्र में बांधने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. वो चित्तौड़ से आते थे, लेकिन उन्होंने अपने टेरिटरी को एक्सपैंड करना शुरू किया, राजपूताना बढ़ने लगा था, और एक नेशनल आइडेंटिटी के तौर पे वो उभर करके आ रहा था. लेकिन उसके बावजूद भी काफ़ी फ्रैगमेंटेशन थे। साउथ में अलग पावर्स थी, वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड और नॉर्दर्न वर्ल्ड लार्जली इज बीइंग कंट्रोल्ड बाय द राजपूतानाज एंड अलॉन्ग विद द सेंट्रल इंडिया टू सम एक्सटेंट। ईस्ट में कहानी बिल्कुल अलग है। और ये जो फ्रैगमेंटेशन थे वो टू सम एक्सटेंट भारत को पराधीन होने से बचा के भी रख सके, क्योंकि अगर एक वो एंटिटी होती है, अगर आपने एक राजा को गिरा दिया है तो इसका मतलब ये है कि आपके पूरे क्षेत्र पे आपका आधिपत्य हो गया है, आप उसको कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। लेकिन ये कोइंसिडेंटली बिकॉज ये फ्रैगमेंट्स भी थे, तो इस वजह से जब बाबर ने राणा संग्राम सिंह को हराया तो उसके पास सिर्फ राणा संग्राम सिंह की टेरिटरीज आई और बाकी की टेरिटरीज नहीं आ सकी। इसका मतलब उसकी क्वेस्ट ईस्ट यानी कि बंगाल, बिहार कंटिन्यू करनी थी, उसको उसको साउथ में भी आना था, जो बाद के राजाओं ने परस्यू किया। तो ये जिसको लोग नेगेटिव पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देख सकते हैं, मुझे लगता है ये भारत के लिए एक पॉजिटिव पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू के भी रूप में उभर के आ सका। और ये रिलीजन्स के केस में भी होता है, कई बार कन्वर्जन इसलिए नहीं हो पाई क्योंकि इतनी डाइवर्सिटी थी। अगर आपने एक कम्युनिटी को टारगेट किया है तो जब तक आपको दूसरे कम्युनिटी पे भी जाना पड़ेगा एंड यू विल हैव टू कीप गोइंग, and somehow this diversity or the differences at times acts as a benefit and it helped us.
Okay. इसी दौर में ना, क्योंकि we know from around the 7th century invasions from the west had begun, mostly landed invasions and then of course by sea also, and largely what I argued in my book is a land of the gods that became a battleground of civilizations. That it became, or the north or western region जो है, that it became a battleground of civilizations. Is there some way to, through your work and or your readings and research in Babur, were you able to understand any change vis-a-vis the religious demography?
Yes, we see some changes, and because there are two things which are happening simultaneously.
क्योंकि इससे पहले सल्तनत पीरियड के अंदर there
Yes.
were Muslim
Yes.
power houses in the center.
Yes.
दिल्ली तख्त पे राज कर रहे थे.
Yes. So there are two things which are happening right now. One is the conversion through the policies. Second is the influx of the other religion, or say the Muslims. There are a lot of people who have come along with Babur, who have come from Afghanistan, who are the soldiers.
Rohillans?
They are the one. And apart from that, the people who have also come from Central Asia, the Mughals, because they are Timurids. Mughals are specifically, I think we have spoken at a stretch about it and when we're talking about Babur one. So there are a lot of Mongols or Mughals who have also come through, and they are Muslims right now. So they begin to inhabitate all those places. So naturally the demography is changing, as in there's an influx, and influx is of different creed altogether. There are policies also which was continued by Babur and his successors as the same as what the Lodhis had. It was about the conversion. The conversion was an important policy because that's integral to theology. You can never get away with it. It's always there. So whoever would be ulema, they will pursue the cause, and demography began to change drastically. But Babur also observes that there have been a lot of mosques which have been dealt with quite violently. He deals with it, and that's interesting because then it tells you that there were a lot of rebel, as in opposition, which was happening. This was not a very pacifist case. It was not that Babur comes and imposes his ideas and we have taken it. Of course, Babur writes very vitriolically when he says that mosques have gone and he's quite disheartened. But if you think it from the Indian and the Hindu point of view, this was something which was a sign of rebellion. It was a sign of not acceptance of Babur authority. So it was very much there. Demography was being taken care by these resistances, though it was not fruitful enough, and we faced quite a bit of conversions.
But on the local level, of course, there were much of this opposition was
Yes,
happening.
yes.
Okay. Having said that, does Babur reflect on the social structure in that era? Because we know that around 200, 300 years later, the English, when they come in, they set or write about the Indian social structure with the central theme of caste, or the Hindu social structure with the central theme of caste. 200 years earlier or 300 years earlier. And of course, the English had entered in Akbar's time, which is where perhaps your next work would be. Uh, was Does Babur also reflect on the social structure of Hindus?
So this is a very interesting question, and I'm glad that you brought it up because this also can give a food for thought to the people who work on the caste issues, etc. Now, Babur is very silent about the social structure.
Okay, it seems just that he was unbothered about it, or
Yes, so I'm coming to it. So, but what we observe is Babur is talking about the high birth, as in the people who are born in a certain family, and the low birth. He's talking about it not in Indian context, but he's talking about his own army while he's describing his people. It means he already had this understanding that there is a hierarchy in how the people operate. As in, if somebody is a soldier and the soldier has taken a particular position in the how the battle formation happens, his son, if he becomes a soldier, which is most likely it would happen because there is a transfer of the occupation, he will take the same position. As in, if he's standing fifth in the queue from the front, seventh from the left, and the same position will be taken by the son as well. So his position does not change in the army because he is born to a certain kind of family and the clan. And Babur is continuously referring to the high bond and the low bond. So it means that even if, say, he would have seen some caste phenomenon in India, I'm saying even if, because he has not spoken about it. Let's assume that even if he saw it, it was not something it just looked like that. So I also make a case often that as far as the caste is concerned, it was something which existed everywhere. It was not unique to Hinduism if it happened. It was a very normal way of looking at the social structure. And when people try to blame it on the Hindus, it's very unfair.
okay, would it be fair to say that since Babur saw, acted upon some sort of a hierarchy, high birth and low birth, he had an eye for it developed already.
Yes.
That if he saw that perhaps as discriminatory in India, he would have observed it or even written about it.
Yes.
But you see that completely absent in his works.
Completely absent in terms of Indian context. He's not talking much about it.
Okay.
Much as in he's not talking about it rather.
And this includes the part, does he have more Hindus joining him at any point of time apart from just political reasons? Are there Hindus joining his army or things like that?
No, not very largely. It just so happened that alliance come where he is approached by the Rajputs once after the Rana Sangha has lost the battle and the battle of Chanderi has happened.
What is that about? Because there's also this question of the letter that comes in.
So
Did
this,
Rana Sangha invite him?
it's very tough to say if he invited him or not, because the only source to make this claim is Babur Nama. In Babur Nama, he says, as in Babur says, that the great king of the Rajputs, Rana Sangram Singh, has sent his people to Kabul with a letter where he has invited me to come and attack Lodi, and he will come from Agra, and I will go from the side, and we will. That is how we are going to destroy the Lodis. That's described in a couple of lines in the Persian
It
manuscript.
sounds like modern day politics also when there are some leaders who reach out to some powers outside India or build those relationships that to perhaps dislodge the government in some way or the other.
Yes.
Without specifically taking names, but I guess you get the hint.
Yes, yes.
So it must sound like not much has changed about politics in the last 500, 600 years.
No, it has always been like that. But coming to this letter again, now this is the only couple of lines which I find in the manuscript.
That is it?
That's it.
This is Babur mentioning that Rana Sangha is invited in. There's no documentation in the.
Not even the excerpt of the letter. Not even like Babur talks, give the excerpt of all the letters. Say the letter which is writing to Humayun, the letter which is writing to some of his general.
How truthful were those people? I'm curious then.
So it becomes so because this is an opinion which he has made, and that is how I look at it. And then he said that Rana Sangha betrayed me, as in he never came.
He never came.
There are two ways to look at it. One is that even if, say, Rana Sangha sent a letter to him, and did not come, then I will look at it as a strategy, a very calculated political strategy where he wanted to just give the enemy the taste of how the thing should be for him, and he wanted him to be destabilized. That's one way to look at it. And even if he did it, uh, I see no harm in it. It's like trapping an enemy in something. Because even if Rana Sanga wouldn't have invited him, he would have surely made a way in. It was a fifth attempt he was making. In the fifth attempt, you suddenly say that, oh, it's Rana Sanga invited him, that's why Babur came. It makes no sense because he always had this quest for Hindustan because he wanted to establish Darul Islam and he wanted to fulfill the desire of Taimur, which was to establish an empire in Hindustan. It was very clear. So when those objectives are there right before, when he never knew Rana Sanga, then how fair it is to blame Rana Sanga. Now, coming to the reality of the matter, we have a Rajput document because I wanted to dig deeper and I came through Mewar ka Sanchipt Itihas. And in Mewar ka Sanchipt Itihas, the family priest of the Rajputs, the Sodia clan, they say that, he says rather, that it's Babur who asked for the alliance from Rana Sangram Singh, and Rana Sangram Singh agreed. Okay. Oh no, he's very silent that we don't know whether Sangram Singh replied or not, but said that Babur approached Rana Sangram Singh and he's given a long description that this and how things happened. It's more than what Babur has written for sure. Then now the third thing which has to come to your mind is Rana Sangram Singh has already defeated the Lodhis. He expanded his empire. He has got way larger empire than what Babur has. Babur has nothing, and he already has Chittor. He has got the Malwa, and he's expanding like anything. And he has become almost like a central figure of the Hindustan. Why will he need the help of somebody who has only been losing the battle so far, who has only been just someone who is looking to create some mark? Why this mighty king will need the help of somebody who of that stature? It's just not it's unimaginable if that thing would have ever happened. And so triangulation process, as in when you look at all these sources, it becomes tough to believe what Babur is saying that Rana Sanga came and asked for his help. It's next to impossible. But other side of it is that even if he has asked for the help, it does not make any sense because it can be a trap too.
Now we come to the very most, the very important question. I think we were discussing about this in the last podcast when Babar Volume One was out. The question of Babri Masjid. When was there a temple? When was the temple demolished? Who demolished the temple? And why is the masjid called Babri Masjid?
So, for the first time, we get to know that it's Babri Masjid only in the 20th century. Before that, the masjid was always known as Masjid-e-Janamasthan. And the term Babri is very recent implant. Now, coming to the timeline of it, the temple was demolished in an era of around 1660s.
This is Aurangzeb's time.
Yes. The temple was destroyed in the era of Aurangzeb, and there is zero evidence to make a point that Babur ever demolished it, or he sent Mir Baki Tashkandi to demolish it, as is the common narrative. And I, being on the side of history, when someone asks me that which wing you belong to, I always say that I am from the history wing. It does not matter that whether it's Hertz left wing or right wing. The point is that
Was there a temple?
there was a temple.
The temple was demolished,
Yes,
but not by Babur.
not by Babur. There was a temple which was destroyed for sure, and we have evidences for it, which in fact was presented in the court. And that's the reason why even court is silent that who destroyed the temple, because we don't find very strong evidences. But there are more evidences for it being destroyed by Aurangzeb than Babur. Now, let me take you a bit through the circus around it, that what exactly had happened. Now, Babur has been in India for 4 years, and in this succession, he has built two mosques, one in Dholpur, one in Agra. When he talks about the mosque, what he has built, he's only mentioning them. Now, what is the argument from the nationalistic point of view that because the Babar Nama was lost, That's why of that era, that those fragments are not available, and he was not writing perhaps that time. That's the reason why he has not mentioned the demolition of the Ram Mandir. Interestingly, in the February of 1529, when he is writing, has resumed writing Babur Nama, and this case of Ram Mandir demolition is supposed to have happened in April of 1528. And before that, he has already built the mosques in Dholpur and Agra. He talks about the mosques in Dholpur and Agra. There is no mention of mosque in Ayodhya or Awadh. It is 1529. He's talking about the mosque which are built earlier, but he's not talking about the mosque that is the Babri, which is supposed to have come bit after Dholpur and Agra. Later on, Jahangir also. Jahangir is a great great grandson of Babur, because Jahangir comes after Babur ke baad Humayun, Humayun ke baad Akbar, and then Jahangir. He talks about the mosques built by Babur. He mentions Dholpur and Agra, no Ayodhya. Gulbadan Begum, who is the biographer of Humayun, which is called Humayun Nama, daughter of Babur. She talks about two mosques, Dholpur and Agra, no Ayodhya. Aine Akbari talks about Ram Mandir, as in the Akbar era, Ram Navami being celebrated, no mosque. We have come till Akbar. William Flynn, who visits the site in early 1600s, he observes temple, no mosque. In 1600 and around 1661, Mr. Das visits the site. He observes the mosque for the first time.
1660s.
1616, somewhere around 1660s, a mosque has been observed. Then comes Tiffin Thaler, a Jesuit scholar. He comes and writes that people have the memory of a temple which existed here, which is now a mosque. And this temple is supposed to, people say that temple was demolished by Aurangzeb. It's the memory of the people. Then
He mentions that the
yes,
okay.
it's the memory of the people. No one is talking about Babur as such. Now comes
But
the
who's destroyed the temple?
it's Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb, because that's what people are saying. And that's what they have observed, and we cannot question the memory of the people because they have witnessed it, and it's coming in recent time. See, there's temple till 1650s.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly there is a mosque. So it means that there was a continuity of a temple. Then suddenly the mosque appears. The memory of the people, whatever they are saying, the local of the Ayodhya, they are saying that it was destroyed by Aurangzeb. Then Buchanan comes in 1800 and something, and he talks about the destruction as well. But then he says that people say that it's destroyed by Aurangzeb, but I am convinced that was destroyed by Babur.
So he makes a mention that
Yes.
he is convinced.
Yes. And then that's where the narrative begins to pick. And we have the inscription which Buchanan has produced, which he said that this was an inscription of the Babri Mosque, which was produced to him through a Maulvi and he translated from the Persian to the English. Interestingly, in those inscriptions, first there is a mishap of the dates where it is mentioned that Babur met a dervish or a Sufi saint in 1520, 1516 CE. In Ayodhya. 1516 में बाबर अयोध्या में नहीं था. It's part of that inscription. He was somewhere else. Then in that very inscription, there is a salutation to the whole lineage. And the lineage starts with Aurangzeb and continues till Taimur. In the Babur's era, if this inscription happened, how the hell on earth people know that there would be an Aurangzeb and is part of the inscription? 1877, the first inscription which is presented to the court only says Allah. There is no mention of Babur. Later on, an inscription which came into the court talks about the mosque and who destroyed and etc. and who built it. Then comes a mention of Mir Baqi Tashkandi, but there the Babur's name is misspelled entirely. And in the 3 lines of the inscription, there are 2 dates. One date is 1523, one date is 1528. So you see a gap of 5 years in one inscription in 3 lines. Babur's name put wrongly. So what was happening, that Muslim side was continuously trying to make sure that this case goes as older as possible to reinforce their claim. And somehow the Indian nationalists also fell prey to it. And we still have this in our parlance that we say Babur destroyed the Babri Masjid and Babur destroyed the Ram Mandir. And I'm no friend of Babur for sure, or nor I see him in a good light. And I have pointed out very clearly that he wanted to establish a Darul Islam. But it is equally important to know that who was the crime doer. Because if we don't know that who destroyed our structure and we just name it to anybody, then also justice is not done enough.
Fair enough. Quite interesting. That being said, you've written the book beautifully. Lovely cover as usual. Penguin does a great job. Congratulations for Babur, The Quest of Hindustan. As Sanjeev sir puts it, with rigorous research and compelling storytelling, Aabhas has brought back Babur and his times alive. Congratulations.
Thank you.